Greetings, beloved, and welcome to our Wholesome Wednesday. Thank you so much for your valued feedback. We really enjoy your feedback. And today we are on 1 Kings chapter 3. We are enjoying this ride. And today we continue with the story of Solomon. Let us continue to subscribe, share, like, and engaging so that we make this journey exciting. Right. So today, as we continue with the book of First Kings chapter 3, we're still on Solomon. This is now when he's between 18 and 20 when we're here. This is when we're supposing that as he started as a king, he was 17. Now, Solomon is in. And actually the very first verse in chapter 3 says Solomon gets married to the daughters of Pharaoh. That's the first. So Solomon, through the traditions or what was done then, what he was doing was something that is known, because they would say this will cement relations, right? So the kings would marry each other's daughters so that they cement relations and they never get to fight, or if they have to fight, they've now created an ally where they can actually count on the other one. When there's war, they can fight for each other and with each other. So Solomon, that's what he's trying to create, relations and gain more base, right? So Solomon decides to go and marry the daughter of Pharaoh. This is sounding correct in terms of what was done then. And logically, you would think, okay, it's okay for him to cement relations, right? But this is not morally upright. This is not morally correct, because Solomon is one person, or is coming from the children of Israel that have been told the kind of life that they have to live. And they can't exchange wives willy-nilly like that with anyone. No. Because of being set apart to be the perfect example to the nations around them, they have a particular lifestyle that they should conduct themselves in. So they can't live anyhow. And him following this custom or this tradition, he is following what everyone else is doing, because these people, they do not have a God of Israel that fights for them. It's okay. But for Solomon, who has a God that actually goes to war and he has a record, a clean record of actually fighting and winning on behalf of Israel. So Solomon comes here and decides to create relations and cement relations so that he's got a bigger army, or he's got an ally that can actually help him when it's time for war. Is actually making it seem like the God of Israel has lost his power, because the God of Israel does not need allies with the Pharaoh, especially Pharaoh. I don't have to mention that we're coming from the book of Exodus, and we have heard how Pharaoh was treating the children of Israel and how God had to come and rescue them for this Pharaoh. For 400 years, they've been kept as captives there. And now Solomon, after these children of Israel, they've been set free, right, as slaves, and God has taken them now into the wilderness, and they are moving, and now they are settled. Solomon goes back to Pharaoh, where the children of Israel to spend 400 years as slaves. So this is where Solomon, he's gone there. And that is why I'm saying it's not morally correct. Solomon is now on a very slippery slope. You would see as we go along that the wives that he decides to marry, that are not coming from the tribe of Israel, that are not coming from the children of Israel, they slowly take him away. Take him away how? They slowly want to start practicing their own practices that they had from where they are coming from. That means they started worshiping their gods, not the God of Israel. So now they want um, Solomon to build these altars for them so that they can worship their gods. And because these women are worshiping their gods in the palace or in the altars that are within the space of God, right? Because God was saying he was with the children of Israel. And within that space, there are people that are actually building altars to worship other gods. They are defiling the land. And God is not amused. So, but it starts with Solomon just getting a daughter, one daughter, and marrying that daughter. And from there, he is on a very slippery slope and he continues. It made me realize and think as leaders, right, from wherever we are. When we fall, that's the end part of it. But it would have started earlier. Very small steps that would have taken, you would have gone out. Something that is not morally correct, but tradition-wise, it makes sense. Logically, it makes sense. But looking at where you come from and who has been guiding you to where you are, it's not morally correct for you to do what you are doing at that particular time. And then, because it's a small thing, you're thinking, it's just a small thing. I'm just marrying this woman. And then you find yourself in a slippery slope and you're continuously going down. And these steps are becoming bold and more bold. And you're walking now with more confidence in sin. Because the first step you have done this, the next one you're going, he continues to marry these women. And he continues to marry these women. Each step he is getting bold and bold and bold because the defilement is getting worse and worse and worse. Now, it's the same with us as leaders. By the time we get to where Solomon dies and the things that he had done, it's coming from this first step. As leaders, by the time we reach the ground and we have fallen, it would have started with one thing that is sounding logically correct but morally wrong. So let us be very careful with those small things that tradition approves, that everyone else around us approves, that logically they make sense, but they are not morally upright. Let us be very careful of the small things that we cut corners. We think they will not have an effect. We think they will, yet they are actually reducing the very same God that had led us to where we are. Yet the very things we are doing, actually denying the power of God that had led us this far. Because if Solomon remembered how God had led Moses, the children of Israel, how God had taken them out of Egypt, how he had taken them out from the hand of Pharaoh, and how he had set them free, for him to go back there, where they are going to be worshiping these gods again all over, it 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 made those that were looking around realize that there's something wrong with this God. At one point, he had to part the Red Sea for them, and he had to fight for them. Now he's having his allies. So maybe this God doesn't have power anymore. We should be really careful as leaders. Things that sometimes it could be, as an individual, you know that it's okay, it did not come from you, but it's suggestions that are coming from other people. That how about you do this? How about your very own cabinet, your very own right-hand man, or your very own people that you trust are the ones suggesting? Remember to remain morally upright in all situations. Remember, we said great responsibility, right, comes with you having great courage, and that great courage comes from God alone. Anything that does not sound correct, morally correct, in terms of principles that we've been given by God, let us not engage. Even if it's small, it's a slippery slope. So we start here. Solomon decides to marry, and now he's married to the Pharaoh's daughter. And we hear that Solomon goes to high places where he goes to offer sacrifices. He's got altars there. And when you ask what is a high place, it's like it could be a hill, or I'm sure even nowadays, depending with where your location is, wherever in our spaces, we still have people today that go to mountains, that go to high mountains, hills. They believe that those places are holy somehow, they are sacred somehow. This is where it comes from, even from Solomon's time. These are just places where it's just a hill or there is a mountain. They just believe that you have to be at a high place, higher than everyone else, for you to actually have a communication with God. So these are the places. They are not sacred places as in on their own they are sacred. They are made sacred by people because they just find a high place and they think, okay, this is a high place, we can worship here. They make it sacred and they have altars there. So Solomon is also now joining these people. This is what is being practiced around. And what he's doing to have allies and have marrying daughters of other kings is what is being done around. So the children of Israel, they are slowly assimilating into these systems. And Solomon finds himself doing the very same thing. And yes, the tabernacle is not here, it's in Hebron. Yes, I understand. But the fact that the tabernacle is not here, this is what is making the children of Israel. It's not close. It's 3 or 4 miles away from where they are. So this is what is making them to say, for the time being, while the tabernacle is far, let us rather be having a place where we can go and worship as families or as individuals. And this is where they then go, because they are seeing everyone around them. They are going to their gods and they are finding sacred places, or they are finding these high places and they are making them sacred. They then copy these other nations around them. Then they say, okay, since everyone around us is finding a place to go and worship, and their place, it has to be a high place. They then copy, they then follow suit, and then they say, no, it doesn't matter. Us, we are not going to be worshiping their God that they are worshiping in their high places. We are just going to high places, but we'll be worshiping the God of Israel. How many times do we follow what other people do? Yet we know the standards that God has set for us. And we want to be following. And then we say, no, but us, we won't be doing that. We're just worshiping our God. We will not be following. We're just going to high places. We're just, it could be, we are just going to high places. There's nothing wrong with going to a high place, by the way. But we are saying, copying other people and then not understanding the history behind why they are doing the things that they are doing. And then you say, I'm also going to take my God there. My God should fit into what their God wants, right? Let us be true and be faithful and understand the God that we worship, so that we are not carried away by new things that keep coming in. So the children of Israel, they also find themselves, we are not going to be worshiping their gods. No, we are worshiping our own God. But they are worshiping their God using the styles of other gods that are around in the other nations. They are using the worship style of the other gods, but worshiping their God. Why can't they worship their God in their own way?